Draft select 2 in the 2005 draft, and he has lived up to all expectation, particularly this year his best, and we appreciate him coming into the Nissan Navara hot seat. Welcome, Dale Thomas.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having me.
And a lazy weekend, your weekend off, what did you get up to?
Not a great deal, mate. Back home to Druin, a bit of babysitting on Saturday night, which was eventful, and then watching my mates have a surf on Sunday.
Would you prefer to have the week off, or as the Cats had a night, albeit a very softish hit out in last week, what would you think would be the preferential sort of lead into a preliminary final?
Yeah, well, the weekend off gives us extra time to prepare and go about our things about this weekend, so I think the week off to prepare is always nice.
Dale, have we deliberately seen less of you this year?
In what regard? In
terms of this sort of stuff? Newspaper articles, media. Has that been something that you've decided you wanted to cut back on?
No, not a concerted idea, I don't think. I do my part on Nova on a Friday morning, so that's why I've done less of the footy show. And I think a lot of the other boys have put their hand up and done more interviews and radio and papers.
So you don't think there's any... would you agree this has been your best year?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Has there been any correlation between that and the fact that you're seen less now as a young sort of footy celebrity? That's been my impression anyway.
No, I think you could draw that conclusion if you'd like, or whether it's not the maturity and the ability to get through another pre-season and get that experience under my belt.
Dale, who's the most important player in your team?
Most important player, probably the captain. If not Dane Swan, that'd be the obvious two.
With Maxwell, why do you think that? Is it he's off-field or on-field?
I think both. His leadership around the club and on the ground, and the way he can set us up. If it's not him setting us up, it's the way he can set the rest of his back line up down there and get us to going forward.
Okay, well, Jolly and Ball, what sort of extra mix have they brought into the team that you've noticed?
Two fantastic people who've been there. Jolly winning a premiership, Bally last year getting to a grand final, and I think that experience in the way they go about their footy. Bally probably one of the most professional players I've seen go about his business in week-to-week stuff. It's been great for us young fellas and the blokes younger than me at the club.
You've changed the way you play this year, in particular with the front hook pressure and the ability to turn the ball over inside 50, which has taken the game from another step to the way St Kilda pioneered it last year. Take us through the summer. How long did it take you to learn? How much theory was there, and how big an evolution in your thinking was it?
Well, I don't think it was a great change to what we'd been doing in the past. We've always based our game around that frontal pressure with blokes like Lyon and going hell for leather down there, putting that pressure on. And I think over the pre-season we did change a few little things as you have to do and adapt to the game, but it wasn't a great deal of change.
I reckon when you emerged onto the footy scene, opposition supporters wanted you to be the player that they hated because they saw the hair and the look, and we knew you because you'd come on our show and you were anything but outside perception was that you were a lair and that you were the boy from Druin and all those sorts of things. And at a big club like Collingwood, you got quickly embraced into the fold. Was that hard to deal with as a young kid?
I think it was something that I dealt with all right. At times it did get tough because at times I was playing a role that was probably a bit foreign in that defensive half-forward role, and I think for my natural game it was more about attacking than defence, so it was a role that I had to adapt to, and I think at times I did it pretty well but probably didn't get much recognition for doing it, and externally the pressure started to build, whereas internally I think Mick and the rest of the coaching staff were happy with how it was going. Yeah,
well, I think you did, and everyone we speak to about you, or I speak to about you, says very level-headed, never got carried away. Outside perception again. So when you're out, Collingwood masses are all over you. I mean, that is a really difficult thing to deal with as a young kid. But you, from all reports, have taken it in your stride.
Yeah, well, it is something you have to deal with, and everyone has to deal with it when you get to an AFL club. It's just part of the pressures that come with it. And I think how you deal with it is one thing, and the club was fantastic with helping me through it. Blokes like Bucks who had been there and have that exposure were good in that regard.
Let's turn the clock forward now to Friday night, obviously the most anticipated game of the year. And let's have a listen to what the Geelong coach had to say about Collingwood.
They're a little bit jealous of us, like, envious of what we've achieved, and that they're after us. Now, we've got to just have as much hatred for them as what they have for us.
The mind games really began then, didn't they?
Well, yeah, yes and no. I think the way we took it was we're certainly admirable of what Geelong's been able to achieve, and we certainly want to have some of this success they've had, and that's in grand finals. They've been there and done that, and for us it starts this week, and hopefully we can get over the Cats and then get to a grand final. And if you want to be a great football club, and that's where Max and his leadership group have been fantastic in being bold and coming out and saying we want to win finals, we want to win premierships. You've got to aim for the big guys, and the Cats are those guys.
Very respectful, Dale. Now, Mick Malthouse, does he intimidate you?
He does still, yes, absolutely.
Well, it's good to be honest about that. Intimidates most of us, Mick. But have you seen his coaching change over the last couple of years at all?
I don't think in my time. From all reports from the years gone till I was there, he was probably more of an old-fashioned coach, whereas I think nowadays coaches are more player management and player welfare, and really knowing how to get the best out of each individual. And for me, he's been fantastic, giving me the opportunities when maybe outside people were calling for my head, but he stuck by me, and for that I'm grateful.
And Nathan Buckley, he comes in, you've played with him, massive figure, groundbreaking succession plan in place. How have you found it? How is your relationship with Nathan changed?
Well, obviously, I can't play the jokes on him we did as players, but because he is going to be the coach. But he's been fantastic. He's slotted in perfectly down there as the offensive coach, and it's going to be interesting to see the transition from offensive coach to the senior coach. But I think it's one that, as he does with everything, he's 100% into.
Will you find it difficult then, given that Mick's had such faith in you and had obviously a massive influence, and he will step aside but still be there? So do you envisage having any problem turning your whole sole focus to Nathan as a senior coach, but yet having Mick just sitting sort of alongside?
No, not at all. I think once Bucks is there, the whole playing group will get behind him, and at Collingwood we support any structure that the coach puts in place, whether it's the same as Mick's or different. Time will tell.
You've played 11 finals, which is a great effort at 23 years of age. Is it still overbearing to be a Collingwood player playing in a big final?
I think it's exciting. It's what you want to do. You go through the pre-seasons, you do all the hard work to get to the finals and to play in the finals. And lucky enough to have played finals every year since I've been at the club. So hopefully this year I can play a few more yet.
Played them well.
What does the team kick so many points, and how much time do you spend talking about it?
We don't spend as much time as you guys talking about it. We spend a bit more time practising, but it's one of those things that hopefully this week, maybe the week after, it'll click. We'll kick more goals than points, and it's one of those things no one deliberately tries to miss.
Now, Craig mentioned this before. Very nice to have you here tonight. We were genuinely surprised you didn't make the All-Australian squad, where a lot of other players are arriving tonight, including some of your teammates, Pendlebury and Swan, to name two, Didak, Nick Maxwell, Harry O'Brien. Were you a little bit surprised? Were you hoping to make the squad? I mean, I know you want to win a flag, and that's the number one thing for this year, but...
No, I wasn't really hoping to make the side. I was just trying to go about my footy week in, week out, and trying to have a good, consistent year. Whether or not it was good enough to make the All-Australian team, well, it's been proven to not be. But when you see blokes like Lenny Hayes missing out, well, maybe it was very granted that I didn't make the squad.
Take it as a compliment. And just quickly, you said before you haven't been afraid to talk about premierships. You've been declaring that all year, that's been as a club, your ambition, isn't it? You're not frightened of that, and you don't seem to be even now trying to keep a lid on it.
Well, I think every club at the start of the pre-season wants to win a premiership.
They don't all say that they think they can do it, though.
That's where Maxie and his leadership group have been fantastic and bold, and probably put their neck out there a little bit to say, we want to do that. We're going to dare to dream and aim big, and hopefully we get there. If we miss, well, you reload and go again, but hopefully we put it out there, and hopefully the boys are right.
You came a long way, mate, from Druin as a young kid. You're sitting here facing up to the heavy hitters, not me, but these other ones. But you maintained a touch of Druin. You've got two little pigtails happening on the side of your head there. Just tell me what that's all about.
Well, they're the leftover dreadlocks I had from my second or third year. So I pulled them all out and I left two there. I've had to tie them up because they get a bit long.
Why?
Why not, mate?
Yeah, fair enough. I would if I could grow it.
He had Gary Ablett's number on his back growing up too, of course.
Good wise choice.
Senior.
Senior, of course, yeah.
Thanks for coming in. Fantastic to have you here in such a big week. We appreciate you getting on the front foot. Right. You've talked a big game all year as a club, and you've put your money where your mouth is, and we wish you well on the weekend.
Thanks, guys.
Dale Thomas, one of the great young players of footy, joining us on Footy Classified. He's in our All-Australian squad every day of the week. Gary...
As if he comes in here.
A break. We'll deal with Jason Ackermanis next on Footy Classified.
Classified.